This video is dimensional analysis that used cubed units. Cubed units, for example, are like centimeters cubed, inches cubed, feet cubed. So technically they're units of length that have been cubed, which now makes them units of volume. And we're going to look at how to take a conversion factor that's written for length and convert it to a conversion factor now for volume. And I want to show you a little background of how we do it using this cube as an example. So imagine this cube, we want the volume of it. The volume of a cube is length times width times height, right? So we got to measure that. We find that it's 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. So the volume then, the length 1 meter, the height 1 meter, the width 1 meter, the volume of this cubed is 1 meter cubed. Now, imagine this is the same exact cube, but instead of measuring the length and the width and the height in meters, we did it in centimeters. Now, we know that there's 100 centimeters in meter. So would that imply that this cube has a volume of 100 centimeters cubed? So if we think about it, the length is a meter, or the height is a meter, which is 100 centimeters. Same side, same thing for each side of this cube. It's 100 centimeters. This is the same as 1 meter. So technically, if we got the volume of this, it's 100 centimeters by 100 centimeters by 100 centimeters, which comes out to be what? A million centimeters cubed, which is essentially the same thing as 100 cubed centimeters cubed, right? 100 times 100 times 100. So essentially, the volume of this cube is 1 meter cubed, but it's not the same as 100 centimeters cubed. It's the same as 100 cubed centimeters cubed. So essentially what I'm saying is, if you're taking a unit of length, or conversion factor of length, like 1 meter is 100 centimeters, we could turn that into a conversion factor for volume if we cube the whole entire conversion factor. That includes the numbers and the units. So if we were to cube all of that, well, 1 cubed is still 1. So that would end up 1 meter cubed is 100 cubed centimeters cubed. And I'm taking that same conversion factor and just turning it into 1 for volume now. And that could work for any conversion factor of length. So for example, 12 inches is in a foot, right? But how many inches cubed are in 1 foot cubed? So to turn that into volume, you have to cube not only the units, but also all of the numbers. So 12 cubed inches cubed is the same thing as a foot cubed, or in other words, 1,728 inches cubed is a foot cubed. Now, what you don't have to do though is cube like milliliters and gallons, because those are already units for volume. We're just doing this for units that were length and turning them into volume. All right, so let's do an example where we're going to take, we're going to use this in dimensional analysis. So let's convert 1 gallon, that's something that we're pretty familiar with, like a gallon of milk, and convert that to inches cubed. So it'd be useful if you guys have your conversion factor sheet to kind of map out a pathway. So one of the common conversion factor that you'll probably use in these is that 1 milliliter is equal to 1 centimeter cubed. That really links like your cubed unit of volume to units that only measure volume, like milliliters. So gallons to inches, we're going to be using this. However, to get from gallons to milliliters, we're going to have to go through quarts, then liters, then milliliters. And then once we're in centimeters cubed, we know that there's 2.54 centimeters in an inch, and we could implement that in our problem to get to inches cubed. So let's start with 1 gallon. And the conversion factor that has gallons in it says that 1 gallon is equal to 4 quarts. Remember, a gallon goes on bottom to cross cancel. From here, if we're eventually going to get to milliliters, we can go quarts to liters. There's 1.06 quarts in a liter. From here, every 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters. Now we can implement this conversion factor. Every 1 milliliter is a centimeter cubed. All right, now here comes technically our conversion factor of length, but we're going to turn it into one of volume. So I can write every 2.54 centimeters is 1 inch. However, of course, that would not cross cancel because this is length and this is volume. So to turn this into volume, we have to cube that entire conversion factor, both the units and the numbers. Now that I'm in inches cubed, I know I can stop the problem. So what I do is I'll take 1 times 4 divided by 1.06 times 1,000 divided by 2.54 cubed. A lot of you might forget that cubed there. Don't forget it. And your final answer is that 1 gallon is equivalent to 230 cubic inches. All right, so that's one example. Let's do a second example. So this one might be kind of interesting. So I just randomly looked up how much water there is on Earth in cubic miles. And what is it? There's 326 million cubic miles of water on Earth. That's a crazy amount. But I don't really know too much about cubic miles. What I really know more is like liters and gallons and stuff. So let's convert that to liters so we kind of have more of an idea of how much that is. All right, so we're going to start with 326 million cubic miles. And remind ourselves that we want to get to liters in the end. So let's create a path here. From miles, I can get to kilometers. From kilometers, I can get to meters. From meters, I can get to centimeters, which is useful for when I can do 1 centimeter cubed is a milliliter. And for milliliters, I can get to liters. So it's a long path. It might take you a second to find it. But we know that we need to cross cancel miles cubed. So the conversion factor I'm pulling is that there's 0.62 miles in 1 kilometer. But we need to turn it into a unit of volume, so we're going to cube everything. From here, 1 kilometer is equivalent to 1,000 meters. But we need to turn it into a conversion factor for volume, so we're going to have to cube everything in that conversion factor. Now, next, we know that every 1 meter is 100 centimeters, but again, cube it. Now I can finally use that 1 centimeter cubed is the same as a milliliter. And then my last link is from milliliters to liters. There's 1,000 milliliters in a liter. So remember, these conversion factors I am not cubing because they are already volume. And I should be done. Just go back and double check that your units cross cancel. And they do. So this is going to be a big one in our calculator. So we're going to start with 326 million divided by 0.62 cubed times 1,000 cubed times 100 cubed divided by 1,000. You should get a pretty big number. And so you want to make sure that you're not neglecting to look to the far right and see that this is 1.37 times 10 to the 21st. That is a whole lot of water, right? That's a number we expect should be a huge number of liters of water that's on Earth. All right, and that is how we implement conversion factors with cubed units.